have books for sale here, so I'm going to give you that plug, but I'm not reading anything from any of them. So there is also a free pamphlet, which is not poetry, which is an essay I wrote about the Lead Belt riot of 1917 here in Missouri. And my father was a small child, and I grew up in Detroit hearing about it. So this is an essay I wrote, a couple decades ago, when I first came through Missouri on my way to Tennessee, where my parents were then living. So if anybody's interested, it was published by John Brown Press a couple months ago, reprinted. And that one's free. What I did not buy, I don't know if you've ever had that where you have regrets about coming back from someplace or having visited somewhere and you've seen something and you didn't do it. You didn't succumb. So what I did not buy, and after the wedding engagement ring, an estate antique with an amethyst stone set in a delicate filigree of old gold, at a booth in what had once been the Charleston slave market, though the tour guide denies there ever was such a place. You grab my arm and say, let's get off here and walk. I know where that slave market is, where I reluctantly leave the ring to adorn someone else's finger. The long wool coat, a thick blanket with reindeer and wolves as a design motif in an Anchorage boutique. The wall hanging sewn with bright multicolor sequins of Erzuli Maitresse at the Arab-owned art market in downtown Port-au-Prince. The silver wolf pin with a moon of bone howling. Nothing better than a train. That's the best poem on earth, listening to a train. And here's a poem I wrote this spring when we had some wonderful series of rains in Missouri, in Kansas City. And anyway, the earth writes a poem while we watch. Spasms of heat lightning gaining intensity, flashes like thunderclaps across the sky, wind racing close to the earth and across the tops of the still bare trees. A patter of rain on glass, thunder crashing, then more rain in earnest and hail, lightning like Klieg lights, illuminates the big shirtwaists across the street. Stone porches slick with water. Lying in bed with the newly opened window blowing rain across my face and upper arms. Unexpected balm. Radioactive dust carried on the wind from the west, all the way from Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant in Japan, and the petrotoxins in the warm, moist air up from the Gulf of Mexico, courtesy British Petroleum. Cold this morning, a 50-degree drop in temperature from yesterday. 3 tulips budded. Father Sky met Mother Earth. This is a poem that will appear in the Connecticut River Review in August. And I'm not a fan of velvet paintings. I've never purchased one, but this poem seemed to be that title, I am my own velvet painting. Aren't we all? One, and it starts out with dream, and it works into childhood memory, which I'm spending a lot of time in childhood, so with my writing. I am my own velvet painting. One, lush green streets, no lights, summer sidewalks, dark and hot. I am a knife cutting the butter of the day. Dressed for success, hat, gloves, low-heeled pumps. A prim young woman seeking her way, not Little Red, but the girl who will love the wolf at her door, the one sniffing at her heels, and others, but not yet. Asking brown-skinned strangers on the sinuous paths, which way to the bus? At such and such intersection, waking I will strain to read the street signs. The sidewalks are smooth, without blemish or imperfection. This fact alone is important evidence that all is unfolding in a dream. I stop at a community center for directions. The woman is a stout Polish matron, maybe someone I knew then and can't recall now, maybe who I have become. 2. A lost memory, my oldest friend names it. Which bridge across the river and when? 1959 or 60 maybe. The dreamscape here too. Hats, white gloves, those pumps again, clutch bags next to our hearts, awake and on our way somewhere across water to Belle Isle, or that brave trio who walked to Canada one Sunday on their own 2 feet, tripping against the steel of the Ambassador Bridge. All the shops in Windsor were shuttered but one, selling souvenir postcards and bus schedules heading back to the States. On a bus snaking through the tunnel under the river, ceramic tiles dripping green moss, 2 flags, Canada, United States, crossed like the fingers of one hand over the international border, circumnavigating our own globe. Each one of us a Magellan launched by a wind we can't recall into a brave new world. And I'm not exactly sure why it happened, but maybe when you don't make a lot of plans and you're a grasshopper, you just end up in places like Kansas City, and you buy a house there, and it's in Midtown, and it's very old, and the land, the earth is very old there. And I've been wanting to write about this small little piece of land. I've never had a house that I could say was mine. It's a strange kind of spot. One of the neighbors calls it the woods. So I must be doing something right. But the title is, and it's about gardens, but it's a kind of different garden. Insurgency. Old forest stream bed parallel to 43rd, a line of chinkapins running from top to bottom of the Los Bluff linchpin. Other trees, poplar, hackberry, native cedar, alder, Siberian elm, ailanthus, beleaguered silk trees, autumn olive, hated by the state, loved by cardinal, robin, migrating cedar waxwing, food for all comers, luscious purple in the beak, propagated when shat, bleeding blue in the water baths, a melting pot of fallen leaves, natural mulch, the forest returning bit by bit each winter, leaching summer into the earth, once cement-like, now springy duff to the touch. Easier to pull the unwanteds, autumn olive suckers, the stubborn vine's devil's claw. Sometimes a movable feast emerges, a patch of bird pepper when last year there were no frilly blossoms. Pulling grass out by the roots, unless it is blue stem or dwarf bamboo. Yanking dandelion to placate the neighbor's more suburban aspirations. Almost a no-mow yard. Almost a forest floor. A postage stamp haven for birds, mammals, insects, butterflies, bees. Old flower beds of blue periwinkle violet, water leaf, daylily, climbing rose, veronica, phlox, and new soil, more soil, from table scraps waiting in the wings of the composter in the ghetto near the ruined river. David singing across the wide Missouri. Choir boy cherub doomed to die in a house fire in Northeast with a brother, their mother, and grandmother. This horror, this memory stops my hand, stops me in my tracks. Dirt in the making. trying to write this poem for a very long time, and this is going to be my final poem tonight. I was lucky enough as a child to spend part of a spring and a summer with a blue jay that my mother and I had found fallen from the elms, which of course are gone now too. And the blue jay slept in my room in an Easter basket. And I learned a lot of things with that blue jay. I named him Oscar. Eventually my mother connected with a place near Ann Arbor, a reserve, and because we couldn't feed him what he really needed. And of course now there are laws, and I don't know about back then, to not have these animals in our possession. But what a blessing. Alarm clock, pre-dawn, an open window, a small girl asleep in a youth bed, decals on the headboard of Jack and Jill tumbling down, their pail perpetually spilling the water they've climbed the hill to fetch. A young blue jay wearing natty plumage of blue and black and white, only recently an egg, soars across the room, luminous in the dim light. The claws of his feet cling to the cotton coverlet, and with his beak he pulls off the blanket, calling, "Wake up!" Her eyes greet his obsidian gaze. A new day! Wake up! A new life! Wake!